This is Truth TOK. We are truth-oriented knights out for the promotion of meaningful discussions to foster democracy. At Truth TOK, we believe the force of argument supersedes the argument of force. Hello, fellow viewers of the show Truth TOK. Welcome yet again to another episode of this show where we explore talking points. We believe here that the force of argument supersedes the argument of force, and we believe as well that facts are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings. And we try to put our emotions in our pockets and discuss critical issues concerning our region and see how to make the most out of these talking points, as in to better off the region and to better off ourselves as a people. On today's episode, we are going to be digging deep into some of the aspects of this crisis that has left a whole lot of people having a double standard, a whole lot of people taking a very solid stance, and a whole lot of people wondering where the future is headed, because a future where a people where you have brother turn against brother, sister turn against sister, is not a future where people want to live and want to thrive. So on this episode of today, on the show today, we are going to be looking at Ambazonian fighters, a force for evil. That's the talking point, that's the debate topic, and we are going to be seeing if this statement is in some way accurate, is in some way reflective of what we are experiencing on the ground today. Ambazonian fighters, a force for evil. I'll start off with you, Sir Kwakwa. When we talk about the Ambazonian fighters and say the atrocities, or what they do and what they don't do on ground, you have been someone who's been very vocal about these issues, and that's why I'm starting off with you, because I know you probably will have a very hard take on this. Sakwakwa, Ambazonian fighters, a force for evil.
Well, that question, it's easy to say yes and stand by it, that it's a force of evil, but I want to go with the yin and yang kind of argument that the aspects of it that I don't really see my at, and there are those aspects that, okay, I will say it deserves a round of me clapping. So the aspects of these amber forces that are not good at all, that you look at it, I've always said that they are barbaric to the people, and in many places the people live in fear of either the military itself that is supposed to protect them, or the amber forces that is claiming to be fighting for them. So, but there are also places where these forces have actually fought to protect the rights of the people in those places. Like, there are places where the military cannot just go there now and brutalize people. I remember when Joseph Viba made his statement in Parliament about the military going to places, beating students, going to a village somewhere there in his subdivision, his municipality, his constituency, and beating people. Those things have actually, they're not happening again. And I think that those things have stopped, where you see the beat students doing rioting or the beat people in villages because of the amber forces. Now there's still beating going on in some places, but I don't think it's done like it was done before. They just beat you for no particular reason. They might just see you and not like your face and start beating you up. But because of the presence of these forces that fight in the name of a particular region, the citizens themselves cannot undergo that torture and torment under the military of Cameroon. But then there's one thing I don't like about the armed forces in relation to this evil, is that this aspect of branding people as blacklegs and then killing them, in most cases through public execution. I think that is barbaric and that is uncalled for and unnecessary. For me, if somebody does something that is against the crisis, there are many ways you can treat that person. You can take them to the bushes, torture them, beat them, maim them. But killing somebody for me is a step too far.
Hmm. So Kwakwa, should I say I'm disappointed or I'm appointed or I'm rather happy to see you drifting from your very hard stance against the voices in the bushes, as some people would say. But then
What is starting? What is starting? Come down.
it in some sense is telling me that you are you are willing to give and take in a discussion. In so there's that concession that you're willing to give when it comes to this discussion, when it comes to debate, when it comes to negotiations. And I think that's an aspect that's an aspect that we are losing in the society. It's almost always a question of is are you for the boys or you're for the military. In a lot of cases, a lot of instances, you will not want to have people, you will not see people taking a middle ground, trying to see things from both sides. And it's always the Amber Boys are terrible people, are evil people, based on the facts that we have, based on the atrocities they've committed, recorded atrocities, and stuff like that. When you talk about the killings that have happened. We know of several innocent civilians who have been pulled out of their houses, shot at point blank. Several individuals pulled to the bushes, killed there, and their corpses have just been left there to rot. And we know of people who have been maimed. We know of people who have been decapitated. We know of people whose hands have been chopped off, and a lot of these atrocities. We can't even name some of them. I was having a discussion with a very good friend, and the whole a discussion, or the whole talking point was about how evil the Amber Boys are. They probably didn't start on this foot, but that's the journey they are walking now. They are not walking a journey of self-determination as they claim. A lot of, or most of them, as he puts it, over even 90% of them are now in for personal benefits, wanting to reap from the innocent civilian population. With the aspect of taking people to the bushes, asking for ransoms. They get paid millions and millions of francs, and they get comfortable, they live maybe good lives. Well, I don't know how good someone can live life in such a situation, in such a scenario, in the bushes, or what have you. But that's always been the narrative, and that's it's quite understandable when you see people looking at it from this vantage point. Sir Dumbo, let me have your take on this. Welcome to the show. Ambazonian fighters, a force for evil. That's what we're discussing today. Your take, your initial take, and then we dig in.
Good evening to you, and good evening to all those listening to us. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. 5 on 5.
100. Okay. I just came in and I followed what some of the reasons that Kwaka was trying to express. Looking at the situation now, I always look at it from the fact that if you if you come somewhere, if you find yourself somewhere and you wreak havoc, or you commit a particular atrocity, or you commit a particular sin, knowing that you're strong enough to leave that place before consequences come, and then those who are around that area bear the consequences, because when the consequences wants to come, you're no longer there, and you still claim that you're fighting for the people that were there, but you commit things that will lead to more consequences in the future. For
Yeah.
me, I feel like that doesn't speak well. It's what I've
Mm.
always had. It's the challenge I've always had since from the beginning of the crisis we are going through. Because you can't commit atrocities knowing that when consequences come, a lot of innocent people will get caught in the crossfire, but you still insist on doing it in that particular location, that particular venue. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's time that they think better and do better if you really want to protect the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Another thing I'll look at is I'm happy Kwakwa had to enumerate some of the positive changes that have come because of them. It's just like when the civil rights movement started in the US. Uh, Martin Luther King Jr. was given certain platforms and given certain privileges because of the violent nature of Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
because Malcolm X wanted rights for the black people by all costs. He didn't care whether it was violent or non-violent. He made the media and made a lot of the stakeholders to give more ear, or say would I say more ear, to give more exposure and also listen more to Martin Luther, who was advocating for non-violent ways of fighting for their rights. So I think that is the same situation we are having now here. There are some benefits from the population, even the behavior that uh, 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 the military is having towards us is also has improved because of the way these guys operate. But in reality,
Mm-hmm.
we are in a situation where we don't know who is who,
Mm-hmm.
because in most cases, a lot of things are being perpetrated. Sometimes extortion, sometimes kidnappings, and sometimes they will say, "No, it's not us; it's somebody else." But I believe that if you want to protect the people, you should protect them from all of those things. But when I did my research, I saw that these are the outcomes of war. When war is happening, sometimes we advocate for war. We don't know that a lot of things come to play. A lot of bad vices come to play when it's time for war.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my take. I think they should do better to protect uh, themselves, the situation, and also to try and see how we can help each other. The extortion and everything is too much. Sincerely, it's causing a lot of chaos, a lot of frustration in the local population who are still struggling to even stand and survive.
So a follow up from that, or my understanding of that, or how I read that, is that these people still have a means of redeeming themselves, of cleaning their names, and standing there as that shiny gold, which people saw at the onset of the crisis. Is that analysis
Honestly, I
correct?
think I think they do. I think they do. Because when the crisis began, the way they behaved, I'm sure you could even leave your house to give to them, because they were very humble and had a focus.
Yeah.
So if they can retake that, that will help. That will help both us and even the government to see how they can even bring them to the table. Because there are times when you ask the government what's happening, when there is no dialogue, they say they don't know who to talk with. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know who to talk with, because when they talk with this one, the other one claims the other one is black leg and everything. So they don't know who to talk with. So I think that will help a bit too.
Right. So Ngabu, you find yourself in a situation, you find yourself in a hospital runabout, and the boys are somewhere uh, around the fish pond hill that's going up towards my 6 area and my 7 area, and then you have the military at T junction, and I mean, you are, say, at the crossroad there at hospital runabout. Who do you run to? Do you turn to the amber boy, or you turn to the military in you're faced with something?
Um, Good evening, listeners and viewers, and thank you for giving me the opportunity once more on Truth Talk to say my view. That question is a tough one as far as this is concerned, and the incidences that we have seen on the ground. I think that first, to answer you, uh, if I am running to either of them, is because I don't have a way of making a shelter on my own. And at
Yeah.
that time, I have no choice but to decide where to go, where my legs take me. But if
Yeah,
I
so the
can do
question
it,
is, where will your legs take you if you find yourself in that situation? Just put yourself in that situation.
until I find myself in that kind of situation, I cannot answer you in this forum because if I am put in that kind of situation, I will try to see if I can dodge and maybe just enter somewhere and disappear without going towards any of them. Because right now, but I'll come back to your question. So to me, I want to say a small story concerning what my comrade has just said. Like, I quite remember sometimes around 2021 when one boy came to a quarter in Bamenda, entered the quarter, discussed to one girl, claiming he was one of the fighters, did away with some money or something, some items, and then the television and things like that. Later in the afternoon, they brought him there. The boys brought him there, well beaten, and they brought to the quarter. The girl confessed that this is the person that took my this in the morning and claimed that he was a fighter. So they carried him around until he brought those things back. I think that is the time that they actually were making a name for sure. Like one of these people said, they were composed, they were doing the right things, and they were focused. But up till now, like I'll answer that my comrade who says they are doing evil, they are doing this, they are doing that. We can only attest that this is done by the boys if they claim responsibility. I know they have claimed some of the things. If they claim responsibility that they have done this, that is the only time that we can confidently say they are responsible. Apart from that, there is no way we say they are responsible, right?
No.
So if they do not claim responsibility, they are not responsible because when there is a war, anything can happen. Everyone takes advantage and they do whatever they can do to get whatever they want. We know the people of the world and we know how they operate. So that is my first point. And then the second point is, these people are fighting a guerrilla warfare. And we know that this guerrilla warfare is a war that is fought amongst the population. You cannot, like my comrade just said, you cannot say these people will come and commit a crime, or they will come and maybe put an explosive where they know this explosive is going to attack the military, and when the military comes back, they are not there. We cannot blame the boys for the incompetence of the military response to an incident, right? We cannot blame them for the incompetence because if it is a professional military and there is an explosive here or an explosion occurred here and they come here, they have to take their time. They are already well protected. Maybe they're in armored vehicles and what have you. They have to examine the area very well to make sure that anybody that they are arresting or they are executing or they are shooting at, it's a victim. If not, why not arrest them and take them to the judiciary and follow the due process and prove that they are guilty before they are taken? But instead, when our military comes, what they do is kill everyone, shoot at everyone. That is incompetence, in my view. So I don't think that it would be reasonable for us to sit and think that a force that is fighting like the boys should be professional enough, like the military, and we should not blame the boys for a poor military response to an incident. So
I think
those are the points I want to make very clear.
Yeah, I think you've made a very important point. But a follow-up question will be that, isn't it a double standard? Isn't it hypocrisy on your own part to think that the military has a responsibility to look after a people who are your own people, and the Amber Boys, on the other hand, who are part of the people and who say that no, the responsibility lies on them, on their shoulders, to take care of you, who is the ordinary civilian. But on your own part, you now want to apportion, the blame or the responsibility on the military, saying that they are supposed to be professional enough to, to handle this situation. These are the people you have rather termed as persona non grata, and people you do not want to see in the land. But in situations
I
like this, you want
I
them to
think
come
you are
and
I think you are misunderstanding me. You are
Mhm.
misunderstanding me in the sense that when you say people who you do not want, who are you referring to as you? Because the helpless mother or child who is there does not know who he wants. They know that they want somebody who is going to take care of their personal interests, who is going to protect them. That is
Yeah,
who they know. And
yeah,
I can tell you that the majority of these people believe that it is the military that is supposed to do that job because they are the ones that are recognized. And even
yeah.
according to the law, they are the professional ones, they are recognized ones.
Hmm.
So they have the obligation to work professionally. So
Yeah.
I cannot in any way blame the boys for a poor or unprofessional military response. I think I stand very strong on that.
Okay.
Wow.
And I think to some extent I get where you're coming from. Sometimes the accountability lies on the leaders and the people who are recognized. General accountability. It's rather very unfortunate that in our society or in our community or in our region, we do not want to hold our leaders accountable. We do not want to hold, the people who are recognized accountable for situations. For example, this is out of this debate setting, but for example, you have, say, the wildfires in California. From a very layman's point of view, you will be looking at it as, okay, this is just a regular natural disaster, so let's just see how to manage the situation. But now, in a very democratic country, the question which is being asked is, it's not that, is this a natural disaster, how did this come about. The question which is asked is, our leaders, how did we not prepare for this natural disaster? We know that California is in the heart of a very of such disasters. These disasters have California is prone to such disasters. Why are we not prepared for this? What steps did we take to prevent this? What steps are we taking now to prevent this in the future, and to address this situation as at right now? We are in a society where we do not hold our leaders accountable enough, and that's why our situation keeps degenerating. Kwakwa seems to disagree with that. Let me hear your take, and I'll ask again this question. You are at the hospital roundabout, and you have the military on one end and the boys on one end. Who do you run to in a situation?
You see, when it comes to atrocities committed during war, there's this argument that always comes up about professionalism, that the professional military should not attack civilians. That is very correct, right? Now, when a professional military is fighting against another professional military, that becomes a thing. But if you are fighting against a force that is not professional, you cannot uphold professional regulations when the person that you're fighting doesn't do the same. So when it comes to okay, you're fighting against a force like the Amber Boys and they don't have those regulations, they cannot be court-martialed. Nothing can be done to them. And we're talking about the military like there's an explosive, and the military who put the explosive in the first place. That's the cause, and then there's an effect. You cannot
Mhm,
you relegate the cause and you focus on the effect. If
mhm.
I think last year in Boya during the mountain race, there were explosives planted along the road,
Yeah, two
and the
years
people
ago.
were injured. And this was because the boys had said nobody should come out for that race because it is organized by Cameroon Athletic Federation and something like that, and they believe that it's a resistance to the government of Cameroon. So don't come and do a race here. The people, it has been a tradition in Boya, people come out to hate the runners while they pass. And then you leave your house, you go there, and then there's an explosive. We cannot come and say, okay, the military failed to maybe check the environment and see the explosives or not. Who put the explosive there? And who was the target? Was the target the military or the civilians coming out to hail the runners? Now,
you're misunderstanding me too. Look, Kwakwa, look, it's a pure obligation on the military to prevent the installation of the explosive as well as to respond professionally when the explosive happens. Because it is their due responsibility to do that. Don't you know that?
Okay. Now, what you have said is their due responsibility. But it can happen. The World Trade Centers in America collapsed not because America is not a military power. They were that protected, they were that powerful. But it still happened in America. So we cannot be talking about the military failing in that regard. We cannot cancel the fact that the terrorists hijacked a plane and crashed into that building. We cannot not do that and say, okay, because America failed to protect itself, it means you cannot exonerate the actions of the terrorists. Al-Qaeda did that, and it is a bad thing on their part. Those who prepared the explosives planted by the road to target or kill those who came out to hail the runners, you must first of all give them the blame, and then come back to the person who failed to secure that roadside for those who are out to watch the race. We cannot come and say, no, they failed in their part, and then we say, okay, the person that put the explosive there had nothing to do with it. I will not be talking about the military failing if the boys did not put the explosive in the first place. That's something that we need to look at it. Now, when we talk about the military, are we declaring independence or reclaiming independence? Because we have a government.
So according to you, if the military says today that people should not go out for a particular thing, are they going to go out or not?
That's a very good question.
They will not go out.
Exactly.
Correct.
And if they should go out, there will be consequences.
There will be consequences. Why then do you go out? If you go out, expect the consequences, right?
It tells you this. No, the military will not set explosive for you. The military will come and face you in the street. They will torture you in that street and you go back home, nobody telling you. It's not
they have tortured people. The military has tortured. The military have executed. The military has taken people into their dungeons and killed them. We know of.
We will blame the military for that. When they do, we will blame them. We will not come and say, the Amber boys failed to protect the people who went out because the military told them not to go
so
out.
I think what Ngabo is doing is he's putting some of the responsibility on the civilians themselves, because communication is done from the part of the boys as well, or the boys as we call it. Let's call it the Amber boys.
Nobody's rejecting that.
The civilians.
That. The fact that there's always a causality and there's an effect, right? If you are drinking, why drunk? They will not ascribe your accident because somebody was crossing the road without looking left and right. It was first because you were drunk. If your eyes were clear, probably you would have seen that person crossing the road. So it's a starting point and there's an end point. You give an information that nobody goes out on this day. They go out. And before they even went out, you had a backup plan. It's not like you knew that they would come there before planting the explosive. So it was done before people came out there and put on a timer or maybe a trigger. So you see the people standing there and you trigger the explosives to go, or you put it on a timer. Either way, it was bound to go off and injure people. So we cannot say that, because the military failed or because the military can do same, it means that what this other person does or has done is okay. One bad action does not justify a bad action. So we cannot come and say that because the military failed to do
one bad action does not justify another bad action. The bad action now is that an explosive went off at hospital runabout. The other bad action which is coming to justify that action is the military's response. The military comes into hospital runabout, it ramps up people, it gathers hundreds of people around hospital runabout. People who ordinary civilians who know absolutely nothing about what's going on. They just had an explosive go off. They are terrified, they are scared. some of them are running into their apartments, but you, the military, you come in there. Instead for you to kind of diffuse the situation or to contain the situation, you bash into people's houses, you break down their doors, you pull people out from their houses, people who are not even are not even living there. You ask for ID cards, they do not have their ID cards on them. You beat them, you maim them, you gather them, and then you take them to your dungeons and say they are supposed to pay a certain amount of money before they are released. Is this the professionalism we're talking about? Is this the bad action, justifying the other bad action, or how are you?
If it only ends at that, if it even only ends at just beating people, taking them to the dungeon, asking for ransoms or asking for huge sums of money to release them, that is even better. I quite remember a time in Bamenda that there was a kind of flat tire fire, and there was a military vehicle coming, and the military opened fire and killed a civilian. Can you imagine that?
Okay.
Because
Wow.
the sound of something that they heard something that sounded like a gun, and then they opened fire, and then they killed a civilian.
Okay. Now it's very easy. It's very easy to blame the military because they move around in armor cars and in uniform. So you can look at this and say this is a B, this is the military of La Republic. Ambazonian fighters don't move with uniforms. You cannot identify them. You made a claim that okay, if an evil action is done and they don't claim that they did that stuff, they don't take responsibility for it, it means you cannot see that they did it. Every organization has a modus operandi, a way that they operate. If these people have taken responsibility of this particular action, it doesn't necessarily mean that when that same action happens, it will be them or not be them. But let me bring this. There are times when people have been kidnapped, hijacked, taken to the bushes and ransomed, and there's ransom that they're asking for. I mean, top officials, people that are known. Some of us have heard these things. Is that supposed to be happening? That you catch a civilian, whether you're working for the government or not, or whether just a normal person working and struggling to make ends meet, and you take them to the bushes and you ask for your family or the bush and ask their family to pay a particular amount. You come to bury your family in the village, or somebody is deceased in your family, you come to bury them, and they tell you that you must give this amount of money to the boys so that they can allow you to do that action to come and bury them in your own village. It is something that is common in the northwest and other places.
I did not say that such things are not common. Then how can we differentiate that from the consequences of war?
Now,
that is my question. How can you say this is something that is done by people from the underworld, and this is something that's done by the boys? No. So tell me how you can decipher between the two.
Let me tell you this, right? We have the argument that we don't know the boys, that you cannot say this action was done by them. We can say this action was done by them because there are eyewitnesses who know that this person is an Amber fighter, and I see you committing this action. I don't need
one that you can bring to this forum.
He's doing this on behalf of the Amber boys.
You have one that you know that you can bring to this forum, because we cannot be debating here on.
That's why I said this. You identify the military because
how did you know? I'm not saying that you are wrong, or I'm not saying that the information is false. I'm just trying to let us know that people can also do stuff and associate them to the boys, so that it can make them look bad, so that the population can look at them in a certain way. Because there was one time that we were hearing something about the Atanganji boys and stuff and things like that, they program some people, send them into the community to commit atrocities in the name of this, so that they can. Have you ever heard about that, Kwakwa?
What you are saying is true. It's a possibility that it can happen, that the government of La Republic to sabotage.
Then how we decipher between the two? That is my word.
The Amber boys have done those things. Have they kidnapped people and asked for ransom? Have they killed people? Have they tortured people? Yes, they have done those things, and they have taken responsibility for those things. So you can say, okay, a majority of those things have been done by them, another majority has not been done by them, but they do those things, and we cannot cancel that they don't do it because some have done it in their name when they were not Amber boys.
For those that they have claimed responsibility, I totally say it is not correct for them to do that. For those that they haven't claimed responsibility, I can't say they did.
On one very
To say
particular
that I
aspect.
cannot blame them, the military's response for on professional response on a certain group of people.
On one aspect that Kwakwa brought, you have situations that people are mourning, people want to go bury their loved ones, and then you ask them to pay a certain charge before they can even go through with their corpse, and people are grieving. It's a situation which should pull, we should play on the emotions of individuals, and I get that very much. And then at some point I take another reflection, and I look at it from another angle, and I say this: who is financing the war in southern Cameroon? Who is financing the boys? How do these boys get their financing? How can they stay relevant? How can they stay, you know with supplies? How can they have their supplies to carry on with their activities, to be able to manage? How can they manage their activities? Any institution or any organization or any gathering or whatever you want to call them is run by finance. How can these people get finance themselves if they do not use this means of getting money through, say, placing tax on drivers who are plowing a road, and placing tax on people who are coming to bury their loved ones, and placing tax on every single thing? Because we know that on the other hand, the military is being financed by us, the people. That's one aspect that we do not talk a lot about. We are financing the military. How do we finance the military? In every single thing that we buy, we pay tax. In every single thing that we pay for, we pay tax. Now taxes are even higher. They implemented is it a four francs tax on mobile money. People are going about their transactions. They are paying taxes. These taxes is what finances the war in southern Cameroon. Means we are giving our own money to a military to come and oppress us. But the boys do not have a means of getting those finances, to say let's fight the war on a level field. Sir Dumbo, my analysis of this, how do you see that? That might be network problem. If you're listening, we'll come back to you. But Sir Kwakwa, my analysis of this, the taxes and the financing of this war, and having the Amber Boys doing all these things just to raise little monies to be able to run.
Obviously, right, the military is much more equipped. They have the means, the finance, backed by the government, right? There's a budget for the military. And you turn across the moon, when you look at the Amber Boys, they seemingly don't have the same financial backing like the military has. Now, but let's look at it this way. There are donors and benefactors to these boys who are fighting, right? There are people who are actually sending the money from abroad.
Mm-hmm.
There are sons of Anglophone land who are sending millions in dollars for this cause.
Millions in dollars? Can you back that?
Myself,
Can you back that? Millions in dollars?
no.
Sir Kwakwa?
I cannot come here. Calm down. Let me land. I will back that by calling names, but I won't call names in a place like this because there are persons who don't want to be known, right? So I won't say back that. I've seen instances when a shipment was seized at the wharf in Tico there of weapons coming to the country that were sent from another country. It has happened severally. Now, okay, when this crisis started, when these boys were doing what even the people could appreciate that, okay, this action is justified, people could, when you come and say support the crisis, when you are traveling the axis from Bamenda to Manfe and beyond, you meet their control and they say support the crisis. You chip in money without hesitation because you understand what they're fighting for. You give it willingly and voluntarily. That is you giving from what you have, not them forcing you to give a particular amount. Then there came a time when I was leaving and I was going across and I made a control. And I made the first one and they asked for support. I gave them 500 francs. And I went forward like about 2 kilometers after and I made the next control and they asked for support. And I'm like, okay, I supported back. And the guy that told me that there's control down there is a gendarme. This is the police. So you have to settle both controls. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So you are fighting against these people and you are using the same things that have been doing to us throughout these years. So he's like, you will not go anywhere. I'm like, this is where I stand. The only money I have on my body here is my transport to go where I'm going to. I cannot give you that money because if I give you that money, I end here. And luckily for me, one of those guys that knew me, we grew up in the village together, and I was like, let that guy go. If he has given money down there, let him go. But the guy standing in front of me was hell bent that I must give him that money. Now, there is no problem raising income to fight a war. How you do it is what matters. You don't have to oppress the people, make them suffer than that, as they're already suffering or more than they're suffering, to sponsor or finance a war that they themselves have not even seen any benefit from that war. You cannot come and say, okay, 2 weeks lockdown, and people are on lockdown. And when they are traveling, you are asking them again to settle controls and support the crisis. Where did they get the money from when they have been on lockdown, working, not working, and not making any money?
So Kwakwa, it's a bit difficult when you are from the side of the rebels. The rebels are operating in a guerrilla manner, as Sengabu said. So it's a bit difficult to organize it in that manner. But now you have situations where, or there was this policy that came that, okay, individuals are supposed to now have what they call a liberation tax. A liberation tax policy was implemented, and then a whole lot of people were like, oh no, what madness, how we go about supporting this by force? You want us to pay a liberation tax? And in this, the policy was that you pay a liberation tax, they give you a receipt that you can present anywhere. But now the fear is, okay, you take this, you walk around with this receipt, now the military holds you, they gun you down. So a lot of discussion was about this, that first of all, why do you tax a people that you claim to want to be fighting for? But then on the other hand, you see the military is imposing tax on mobile money. Are you going to say that you're not going to pay the tax of mobile money? You're definitely going to pay the mobile money tax, voluntarily or involuntarily. You must pay the tax. You must pay the tax on buying rice. You must pay the tax on buying all these items. How then can the boys implement such taxes that you must pay without feeling that pinch or that pain? Sangabu, my analysis of these things, let's have your take, and then we move on to something else.
Yeah, I thank you for giving me the opportunity once more. I think I still stand on my point. And looking at the fact of raising money, I think if you are in a kind of environment like the Southern Cameroons now, if you cannot fight and the freedom fighters are doing the right thing, I think if the people can understand with the people fighting for them, they should be able to accept the tax. But the thing is, how is this going to be collected and so on? I don't want to go into those details, but I think that the fact that a general levy is made on a certain group of people who they think are eligible to either you join the fight or you pay for the fight. I think that is the way they can go and get through.
One last question that I would ask, maybe I combine the question. On the ground today, right? I'll ask both Sir Kwakwa and Sangabe. On the ground today, who is committing more atrocities? Because the talking point or the topic for debate was Ambazonian fighters, a force for evil. On the ground today, who is committing more atrocities? Is it the Amber Boys? Is it the military forces? And I want us to differentiate this aspect of kidnap and arrest. And is there a difference between these, and which is happening more rampant and in an uncontrolled manner, in an irrational manner? Sir Kwakwa, let's go with you first.
Talking about who commits the highest atrocity, the highest evil, I won't say it's something that we can really measure. We cannot really evaluate and say this person has committed the greatest atrocity. But I think what is common is a reaction. If the military does this, the Amber Boys will come and do this. And if the Amber Boys act like this, the military comes in and also acts like this. So it's almost often it's a repercussion of one action. So I think they are fighting and people react to circumstances. For instance, like we talk, if okay, say the military is attacked and several military men are killed, you see they send reinforcement that comes in, and most often those who are in the middle are the ones who suffer, because I think we can measure the level of evil based on the civilians who suffer from that evil. So I think in most cases, the civilians suffer torture. The Amber Boys deal the military in a very serious way that the military feels the consequences of that action. And so they come back. Like I remember something happened, I won't call the place, but the military were ambushed. And all the boys in that quarter were taken to the brigade and beaten by the military. Though they were released some days after, but they were taken there because they were accused that if the Amber Boys were in those bushes lying there and in wait for the military to come, it means those who were around must have seen them, must have known that they were there and did nothing to warn the military while they were coming or before they came. And so they had to suffer for it. So I think that in most cases, the military beat the people more than the Amber Boys themselves do. The Amber Boys will maltreat you or do something to you if they get information or get wind of any flying news that you have done something that they term as you being a blackleg or as a traitor to the cause. They will not, in most cases, just come to you and torture you and beat you if they have not really seen a reason to do so. Now, that doesn't count also the fact of the kidnapping and other stuff. So it's a complex situation where we can't really evaluate. But in isolated circumstances, the people suffer the beatings and the torture because the military comes. And those who committed the atrocious acts, maybe the Amber Boys have already left long ago, like 2 hours ago. And they come and they round up people, civilians who were unaware of who even did the act. Maybe they were in their farms. They just came back and they're taken to places where they don't know. Now, in relation to kidnap and arrest, right, this very issue came up when we're talking about Israel and Palestine. And we talk about the person who has the formal power to do an arrest and the other person who is seen as a terrorist having something like kidnapping or hijacking. Now, I would say in this case, you only arrest somebody when there's a crime. If there's no crime, then it becomes kidnapping. So if the Amber Boys or the forces of La Republic come to your house without a particular crime that they can identify you with and take you, whether be it in a prison or wherever, that can still be considered kidnapping because there's no crime until you can justify a crime that this person has committed this crime. In my books, that is not a crime. Now, since we cannot really term the Amber Boys like, okay, if they're arresting you, where are they putting you? Are they locking you up somewhere? Are they sentencing you and saying, okay, this is what you have done, and you have 2 years, you have 10 months, you have 8 months of sentencing for your crime? So if there's nothing criminal, I think it's a kidnapping. And when it comes to the ransoming, like, okay, pay this amount for this person to be released, then that is where it becomes a kidnapping. Now, if you're arrested, you have a crime that you have to pay for and for your release, or you have to prove that this thing that you're being accused of, you did not do. But if on a good day you're just strolling around town, like here in Bamenda is happening rampantly now, and they just stop you and say, okay, like a pastor was kidnapped right there and 5 million was asked for ransoming. Now, that's kidnapping because there's a ransom that is asked. If it's an arrest, there should not be any ransoming. There should be either you are guilty or not. And if you are guilty, you are sentenced. If you are not guilty, a bail is paid and you are released.
Sangabu, let me have your take on that talking point, and then we look at a few statements, right?
Thank you. I'm glad that my comrade Kwakwa has come to understand that a professional military's response to an issue in an irrational manner cannot be blamed on the boys who caused the chaos and left. Thank you for understanding that. And I also need to be corrected here. The fact that he says a kidnapping is when you are arrested without crime. I think I need to understand more about that, but that one we'll discuss offline. Because I think that if somebody has the right, the military has the right to come here if there was an issue, arrest people, and do not torture them, just arrest people that these are suspect of an issue or an incident that has occurred in this place, and then taken to the court of law where they can prove they're innocent and they are freed. Okay. Away from that, I'll also like to give my final comment concerning how many people, whether kidnapped or arrested. So when I talk about kidnap, I talk about the people of the underworld or the boys. And when I talk about arrest, I'm talking about the professional military. So we can talk about countless raids, military raids, arrests torture, and so on. But if we want to, just by looking at the things that we are seeing on social media, count how many people have been arrested by the professional military, we know the numbers are way, 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 way high as compared to what we hear on the other side, that they have been arrested and tortured and ransoms taken, which we cannot even independently confirm if
Verify, yeah.
they are done by the regular boys or the men of the underworld. Thank you.
I think Sadumbo, if you can hear us, let's hear you on this. I think his network is still not very good. But Sangabo has made a very, very important point. Now, if we want to go by numbers, and then we're talking about arrest and kidnap, like you said, Sakwakwa, arrest is simply that a nice name given to the people who are said to be recognized, the people of the government. They call it arrest, and then when it's the people of the underworld or the amber boys who are not recognized, they call it kidnap. And if you want to go by numbers, you realize that the people who have been picked up by the military, the number is, say, 100 times or even more than 100 times more than what you have being done by the Ambazonian fighters. On a daily basis, if we're even to look at that, we see some days hundreds and hundreds of people are gathered in a certain locality, all of them taken to prison. We know that is it Bonakanda, some months back, the mothers came out crying, saying, we want our sons back, we want our sons back. They had to pay 250,000 francs per head for the release of these people. And then you want to ask, what is the crime of these individuals, these young boys who were just picked up, rounded up, and taken into the cells? And you realize that there's no crime, but then they still have to pay 250,000 francs for the release of a single person. You see the amount of money the military makes from this crisis, and then a lot of people are simply focused on the singular instances where the Ambazonian fighters kidnap. Let's use the word kidnap as they like to call it. Kidnap maybe a priest, or maybe this guy or this guy. How many people are being kidnapped on a daily basis compared to how many people are being arrested on a daily basis, and how much is being extorted from the people by the military as a result of this arrest, and how much is being extorted from the people as a result of the Ambazonian kidnap. You realize that the military is making more money, the military is committing more crimes, if we should call those things crimes. But a lot of people's focus is on the Amber Boys, because these are the people, the evil people who we shouldn't have had in the first place. I mean, that's my own analysis on this.
When you put it like that, it will seem that the military commits a greater atrocity than the Amber Boys. Now,
Is that not so?
Let me come. when the aspect now that I mentioned something that they can arrest a large number of persons and then ask for you pay an amount and you leave. Before the crisis came, even if they come on a raid here, even in just normal what they call roughly, they take you must drop something before you leave. It happens even in Douala and other places. So it's not like it's only in the crisis region. Now, I know of a situation where 30 seminarians were kidnapped in Manfe on their way back from school. They were taken in their bus and taken in the bushes. And a ransom was asked. All of them, 30, paid an amount of money. There are several occasions where students have been kidnapped. And just because they went to school, they were taken to the bush and a ransom was asked. Now, the point of focus should be which one is a kidnapping and which one is an arrest. Can the military just go to a school and just take students and lock them up for no particular reason? When you kidnap a child who's coming from school, you take them to the bush and ask for a ransom. What does that tell you? That's a crime against humanity in its own right. Now, we can talk of when they say
but it's okay for the military. It's okay for the military to break into people's houses.
I haven't said that. I haven't said that. Now, when we put a value on that of the military, we try to cancel what the boys have done. Okay, if the military comes to say, okay, they come to Muya today, after maybe there was some shooting in Muya and they come and arrest people, then you can understand that they came there and did the arresting because there was a shooting and there was a fighting. I can argue that they are suspecting that members of that community were part of the attack. But they don't just come on one free day morning, go to a school like Balingwa Grammar School in Moliko and remove students from their class and take them to Mount Cameroon and keep them there and ask for ransom. You have to pay before you take your children. So
But
they both do the
Papa,
same thing.
not
Now
cutting
you
you
have to
short, but
understand this. We have always argued this.
Papa,
The argument has
you,
always been that the
you
military, La
cannot
Republic is
say
bigger than La Republic is bigger than Ambazonia in terms of numbers. So obviously people will benefit from the crisis for their personal reasons. Like if they arrest
but
these people, the money goes to
you
the arrest,
cannot,
not the government.
I'm not cutting you short. Kwakwa, you cannot say that the military has not, for any reason, just gone to a place where there was no incident to do a raid. It has happened several places, several times, where they just come to a village where nothing has happened. They just do a raid, arrest people, burn houses, do terrible things. It has happened. Why should we be, when it comes to the military? Why are you talking as if
It's like you missed my
it's
point.
something that's not happening?
Okay.
The military do those things. They do those things, right? Now, the way you are arguing, we are doing the same stuff here, you and I, right? You are trying to look at to downplay what the Amber Boys do, and you make what the military does as above there or up
No,
there.
I always
And
tell you,
I'm making you understand this.
I always tell you that one part about this is you cannot compare a professional military to a group of boys
You and I both know
and
that
think
that
that they
argument
should
doesn't
act
stand.
the same
That
way.
Now,
argument doesn't stand.
I think we're
think
going
Those
to
boys
this
have
thing
continue.
killed
is
I think
military
we're
over
going
and
to
men.
over.
continue that particular. I think we're going
Those
to
boys
continue
have
that
killed
particular
military men in
talking
their
point.
thousands. That
I think we're going to continue that debate on that particular point on our next episode on the return leg. But I'm going to present to us what we have as the Global Center for the Responsibility to Protect, an article which was released December 2024. It's very important that we go through and read through and see what has been going on in this region. The crimes committed by the separatist fighters, the crimes committed by the military, and a whole insight of what we are experiencing on the ground today. I mean, this is one of the most recent releases or the most recent articles by an NGO. So it's very important that we read through and get to understand some of these things. And then to quickly rush over a few public statements made by public figures, we might not debate them, we might not look at them in details, we might just have a final word after reading through. It's what we have as from the document which was put out. I've gone through in not in very details. I've gone through the case filed by Nsalai of the Nsalai law firm. The Nsalai law firm is the firm which called for the arrest of Ambazonian leader uh, uh, Ayabacho Lucas, who is still in detention in Norway, and it's pushing forth right now for these people to be deported or for their arrest. These other leaders, as we know, the new Trump administration, and he's thinking that this might be a very good step. A letter from Nsalai law firm was called on or has called on the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to revoke immigration statuses and expedite the deportation proceedings for members of the Ambazonian separatist movement residing in the country. The letter claims that Tapang Ivo Tanko and all these other people and many others listed names have allegedly used their positions to incite violence, solicit funds for terrorist activities, and recruit supporters. It says these crimes align with President Trump's call to deport people accused of committing crimes in the United States. And you can further read the letter on Mimi Mefo's page. This is not supposed to be publicity on her page, but uh, uh, Unfortunately or fortunately, it's publicity on her page. So we move further. We move further to some. The Guardian had an interview with the locked up leaders, and they had some statements, and then we have some excerpts of the statements. We're just going to read through a few of the excerpts from Sisiko Ayok Tabe. He says, before any court in Cameroon, all Southern Cameroonians have a life sentence reserved for them just because of who they are. We are we are taking one for our nation, and we pray it should be the last for all Southern Cameroons. You can read the full article under his page in on X, Sisiko Ayoktabe. And then Mancho BBC said, I am the first person who declared the Ambazonian revolution, he says, and we'll do it over and over again if the opportunity shows up. I am ready to die for freedom. That was Mancho BBC. And then Sisiko says in another, Abdul Karim says in his own statement, I was abducted to be silenced, not just because I believe in the right to self-determination for Southern Cameroons, but because I defend those rights. That was Abdul Karim in his own statement. And then the last one, no matter how long this darkness has been, victory is assured, and on the way, we all, 8 million Ambazonians, share a common pain and a plight. We cannot continue this life of servitude and pass it on as legacy to our future generations. These are public statements which were made by the locked up leaders and peace advocate or peace crusader Abdul Karim and all these people. Your singular take, and we call it quit for today. Let me start with Sangabo on these things I've read.
I think I don't have much to say. If in general, I think these people are the ones that started this fight for freedom. And if right in detention, they still strongly believe in the fight, then I think a lot of Anglophones or a lot of Southern Cameroonians should now be thinking, or for those that have not been thinking, should be thinking that maybe this is the right way to go.
So Kwako, I'm thinking that you disagree because you've always had a strong stance on not going for separation but for federation. But let me have your take on these public statements and the lawsuit and whatever.
There is debate, there is reality. I want to say, after hearing the public statements that they have been made by public officials, the president, and every other person, I want to say this, and the state of Ambazonia has a right to self-determination, has a right to sovereignty in that territory because it's supposed to be so. They had it at the time of independence, and somehow always discussed over the ages and over the years. Politics have played in, and things have happened the way they have happened, and we are where we are. Make no mistake, we debate here for the sake of educating and giving a perspective and a point of view to people so that they might know what is happening. But we all know for a fact that what is happening for the people of Anglophone Cameroon is not supposed to be happening. If we're talking about independence, it means something has pushed us to the brink, and there is a reaction to what has pushed us. And so my closing will be that we need to approach it with caution, but we need to keep our resolves high. Because if we don't fight for it, nobody will give it to us. And if you fight and you stop, they will use it as a thing to continue putting you through shaggy. I think we have to go about it in a manner that our people feel protected, our people feel loved, and our people feel hope. The way I see Anglophone Cameroonians, many are losing hope because of the way things have unfolded for the last 8 years. And I think those who are fighting for them need to restore their hope, make them think and feel that they are better than the enemy they are fighting. There are many persons that if you call on them today to give a take, what they believed in 2014 or 2016 about the cause might or must have changed because of what they have experienced in the hands of their own defense forces. So I think we have a rightful cause, but we have to proceed in a manner that when we go to the end, we can look back and say we are proud of the way we did it, and
Mm-hmm.
make a land that what happened in the places like Sierra Leone and Liberia, where those who were fighting, after you get them angry, they go back to the bush, take their guns, come back and kill you because they think that what you are enjoying now came as a result of what they did in the past. We
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that we put in rules, we put in plans, put in measures that protect and safeguard a future where whenever we get that independence, we avoid the situation in Sudan and we avoid
Yeah.
the situation in crisis
Yeah.
like in places like we are having now, even
As
in
to say, we
Congo.
call for a general amnesty after this comes, everything comes to an end. Yeah.
Yes. So we have
Uh,
to put in measures. So
Sadumbo, your very last statement, and then let's go.
my voice don't drive that man.
That network warrior. I'm Without Dumbo's last statement, I'm going to give my concluding statement, and then we call it quit for today. So, from my own understanding, and from my understanding, regarding the discussions around this, not just on this panel, but with individuals, with friends, with people who also have, serious concerns about what's happening on the ground. It's my understanding that a lot of people are fed up. Are fed up with the fact that it has taken too long. Are fed up with the fact that the people who are supposed to be protecting them have turned on and are now the oppressors in a lot of instances. And uh, if these people should have maintained their modus operandi as a 2016, then maybe they should have still been enjoying the support from the people. But a lot of people are fed up, or majority to some extent. That's my own personal view. A majority of the people are fed up and want this to come to an end, and would rather go back to the clouds, the dangerous clouds of La République du Cameroon, than hope for a future which is very oblique to us, and we can't even see a way to get to that future. And if it means that walking on the dead bodies of millions of southern Cameroonians, or walking through blood or swimming through blood, then they don't want to be a party to that. And I think that from this, the take that we can have from this is that the boys need to do better. From my discussion, the panel discussion, what I'm taking is that the boys need to do better. The boys still have the opportunity to redeem themselves, to clean their names, and to act right, and enjoy the support of the people. Thank you, fellow panelists, fellow comrade, for uh, joining us on this debate session for today. And we hope to see you again on a subsequent edition. It's going to be a rematch of this. For our fellow viewers, we are begging on you to subscribe to our channels, on our YouTube channel, Truth Talk, and on Facebook, Truth Talk as well. And engage us in discussions, challenge us with questions, and join us in this project, and let's see how to discuss, and let's see how to debate our ways into finding solutions. Thank you very much. Until next time, it's bye bye.